Hey, what is going on, Guardians? TBL here, and you know what? Oops, I'm sorry. I absolutely bungled this intro. Let's try this again. Hi, what's going on? It's your boy TBL here, back with another daily Destiny video. But what's good, everyone? I'm back today to talk a bit about something that I mentioned in a previous video. If you remember a couple of videos back, I made a quick mention that pretty soon I was going to be talking a bit about random weapon rolls, their place in Destiny, why they're gone in Destiny 2, and why I think they should probably, in some way, shape, or form, come back. Now, this is a topic that there's been no shortage of conversation on. Even if you're a fan of the old Planet Destiny podcast, if you were to go back through several episodes, you could find me talking a bit about this subject. And I figured it's finally time for me to make a video, just kind of getting all my thoughts into one. And I promise I'll try to make it as quick as possible. So, let's go ahead and get started. Now, I know a lot of you out there are Guardians, you're Destiny veterans, so I don't need to take too much time to explain how random rolls worked. So instead, I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about some of the positives of random rolls in that system from Destiny 1, and the positives of some of the static rolls in that system in Destiny 2, and kind of how we could have a marriage of the two systems in the future of Destiny 2. I think ultimately, getting rid of random rolls in their entirety and just moving to a purely static roll system in Destiny 2 was a mistake. And I think there could have been an overall better solution between mixing the systems we had in Destiny 1 with the ones that we have in Destiny 2. And of course, there are certainly benefits towards having static weapons in Destiny 2. My argument has always been it's perfectly fine to have weapons with just one static roll. But if you're going to do that in a game like Destiny where it's all about the loot, then you have to absolutely flood that game with tons and tons and tons of loot, which unfortunately, there really isn't much of a case for with Destiny 2. Alright, so with random rolls in Destiny 1, it was a bit of a wild card. Certainly, having random rolls in a game like this is very beneficial when you have a bunch of different weapons that can all have a bunch of different rolls. So every time you get that weapon to drop, it might have potentially a different set of perks each and every time you get it. And for most of the weapons in Destiny 1, there were like 5 or 6 desirable perks that you wanted to get on specific weapons. Those god rolls that everybody used to chase after. A great example of this is always the IS Luna, that fantastic PvP hand cannon that could drop and you could get the perfect setup of like True Sight or Sure Shot alongside Rangefinder, Rifled Barrel, and of course something like Outlaw. And for the most part, this was pretty good. This created a fantastic incentive to keep people playing content as they were hoping to get not only that weapon to drop, but that weapon to drop with the perfect perk setup. Again, those god rolls. And this wound up being both a positive and a negative thing throughout Destiny 1. It was very positive in that, again, it elongated that grind. It got people to get up and play through strikes every single day trying to get a perfect hopscotch pilgrim. It got them to play PvP every single day trying to get an unending deluge. And in a loot-focused game like Destiny, the chase for that loot, trying to get the perfect gear setup, is exactly the sort of thing this type of player is looking for. It's why you see, even now, 3.5 or so years into Destiny 1's lifespan, people are still playing that like crazy, whereas in Destiny 2, they may have tapered off. Once you've gotten a piece of gear in Destiny 2, that's it. Your 10th better Devils isn't gonna feel any different from your first one, and it's why you don't see people grinding as much in Destiny 2 as they did in Destiny 1. Now, that being said, this system also had a lot of problems. If you look specifically at weapons like the IS Luna, like the Palindrome, there was something like 40 to 45 different perk options that you could get on that weapon. Now, what does that mean? Well, it means of the sight tree, you have a set grouping of sights that you might get. You might get the sight that you want. Then for perk number 1, you have a set grouping of 8 to 9 different perks that you might get the perk that you want. And then the same thing for the middle tree and of course for the third tree. There were so many tiers of RNG to get the right weapon, it was a little bit crazy back in Destiny 1. Again, we can just take a look at something like this Imago loop. I chased Imago loop for so long. It actually got to the point where me and my buddies Black Fox and my brother Jen, we used to run this, we used to speed run the Echo Chamber strike in like 4 minutes trying to get a perfect roll of the Imago loop, and I finally got one. I was super happy to chase it. I was looking for this item and I finally got my hands on it, but the RNG behind it was a little bit extreme. When you have to get 3 specific perks out of a very large pool, your chances of getting exactly what you want are of course very low. There are still Guardians out there chasing that perfect Ias Luna. And now, me personally, I love that sort of thing. I'm somebody who's willing to invest a lot of time into a game if it's got something I want to get my hands on. And even if, it's an RNG-based system like that, I love this kind of thing. But there are a lot of players out there who didn't. There's a lot of players out there who don't have as much time to invest in Destiny as certainly I do. And that's kind of one of the issues that they ran into. They never got to experience a perfect Ias Luna. They never got to get a perfect palindrome. And when you've got that many tiers of RNG on top of RNG, yeah, I could really see where the frustration came from with a lot of the player base. But ultimately, I don't believe that removing randomization for perks entirely was the right decision to make. Because of course, like I already mentioned, some of the problems with Destiny 2 is that you get a weapon and there's no more excitement there. There's no more chase. Once you've gotten your Antiope, that's it. You don't ever need to get another Antiope because there's nothing different about it. We still haven't figured out, what was it Luke Smith said, a way to make your 11th Better Devils feel somewhat special. And I think being able to get a different version of a Better Devils with different perks would be able to help with that. But thankfully, I don't believe these two systems are mutually exclusive between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2. There's already been several steps in Destiny 2 that can kind of help implement a system that would make getting these different weapons a bit more meaningful. I mean, they already took out a lot of problem perks from Destiny 1, stuff like Luck in the Chamber is no longer in Destiny 2, and they kind of tuned the way some perks work. One of the issues in Destiny 1 was that a lot of the perks that were in a weapons perk pool were kind of garbage. If you got yourself a hand cannon and it didn't have rifled barrel, you kind of just went ahead and tossed it in the trash. Thankfully, that's not so much of an issue with Destiny 2. Perk balance is in a bit of a better spot, although anything with explosive rounds is generally considered to be above the rest. But right now, we don't have too many problem perks in D2. There's certainly a few that could see a buff, like Dragonfly. Thankfully, I do believe that's getting a buff in the patch coming next week, and some others that could be bumped up to the level of explosive rounds so that you'd be a little bit happier to see it on your next weapon. But there are a few things that Bungie could do, in my opinion, to sort of reinvigorate that desire to grind for things. One of which would simply be to have vendors have a rotating stock. It kind of blew my mind when Curse of Osiris came out, and the vendor weapons and weapons you can get from like factions and whatnot didn't see any sort of change in perks. It was a pretty big part of Destiny 1. Anytime a new content season began for that game, anytime a DLC came out, they changed the perks that were on vendor weapons. It was exciting every time Iron Banner came around because you had no idea what god roll Lady Aphrodite or Lord Saladin was going to be selling that week. And the same could even be extended to the old Arms Day system. You guys remember I used to do the Arms Day video every single week, showing off what roles the gunsmith had brought that time around. That's really a system that I was surprised to see not make its way into Destiny 2, and that's certainly something that they could change. If you could have, maybe not the old package system where you have to buy a package and hold on to it, but every week he sells something specifically different. If we could get, him to sell an Antiope, I know a lot of people would be really happy about that, but if that Antiope was different every week, that would definitely be a great way to get players to come back and check in on your boy Banshee every single week they play Destiny 2. And the same could of course apply to factions and any of the planetary vendors as well. So in addition to, having vendors have a rotating stock of weapons with changing perks, I do believe that there can be a bit of a compromise made with random perks coming back for weapon drops. Now, I don't exactly think we should go back to the point of having 40 to 50 perks per weapon and just this massive perk pool. They could tone that down just a bit, but I do believe they should bump up the efficacy of a lot of the perks that can be applied to weapons right now. So, you feel powerful in PvP, you feel powerful in PvE. And rather than having a single perk setup that would be considered a god roll for a weapon, it'd be great if there were several different viable perk options for guns. A lot of the static weapon rolls in Destiny 2 just aren't very exciting, and that's a little bit weird because we know that Bungie's capable of handcrafting some amazing weapons. Look at that vendor hung jury from the start of The Taken King. That should be the standard of your static weapon roll perks in Destiny 2. A weapon that's just so perfectly rolled. It's got great synergy between triple tap, either extended mags or hand-laid stock for bonus stability, and then of course Firefly. It's just an absolute dream to shoot. And the same can be applied to stuff like the Vault of Glass primary weapons, Vision of Confluence, Fatebringer. Those were handcrafted weapons that felt powerful and fun. That's kind of one of the things we're missing in Destiny 2 right now. And I believe tuning up some of the perks in Destiny 2 could definitely help with that. And while I would love to see random rolls return in Destiny 2, I think there could be something done with the mod system with Destiny 2. It'd be great if we could get random rolls back in D2 that would give you something to grind for, something to play strikes for, something to run public events for, especially if we had a pool of weapons and items that only dropped in strikes, only dropped in PvP, only dropped in public events. That'd be a great incentive to get players out there to try to see what different weapon rolls they could get. But for those of you out there who don't have that much time or who just have crap RNG like me, but you still want to get a very specific roll of a weapon, well, Destiny 2 kind of already has a system in place for that with both Masterworks and, of course, the mod system. Now, you guys know I have criticized the mod system to no end. I think it's kind of a half-baked idea, especially when it comes to the mods on weapons. All you can really do is bump up your power and change the element on a special weapon, a second primary, or a power weapon, and I think that's a bit of a waste there. Imagine getting a better Devils to drop, but you really want to get something that's going to help with its reload speed. So you head over to the gunsmith and you want to craft yourself up an outlaw mod. Crafting that would require a set amount of mod components, so you grab a weapon test bounty or something from him that rewards you with mod components, you head out into PvE, maybe a public event or something, you complete that objective, you bring it back to him, he rewards you the mod components, and you craft yourself a legendary outlaw mod. Boom! You apply that to your better Devils, suddenly it's got outlaw on it. And you could utilize a system like that to add or edit perks to a weapon for the cost of, maybe some gunsmith materials, the mod itself, and a whole hefty bunch of legendary marks or something like that. I mean, I'm in no way, shape, or form a game developer, but that seems like a good way to utilize the mod system that's already present in Destiny 2 and reincorporate something that really helped the game stay alive back in Destiny 1. And of course, that's just a quick idea. I'm sure there are plenty of others out there, but I think that'd be a great way, especially by utilizing the mod system like this alongside a random drop system for perks. It'd be a good way to reward those players who put a lot of time into grinding the game, while also providing an avenue to get what you want for players who may not have as much time to invest. It's just one idea, and of course, like I said before, I think a marriage between the random drop roll system from Destiny 1 and the tools we have like mods and Masterworks in Destiny 2 would probably be a great way to move forward with attracting players back and getting those who want to invest time into this game for a reward to continue playing. But those are just my ideas on the subject, and I know you guys definitely have your own opinions for how either random rolls could come back in some sort of way, or if they should even come back. If you're somebody who believes that you prefer static weapons in Destiny 2, please absolutely sound off with your guys' ideas in the comment section below. But that is it for this one. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed, feel free to drop a like and make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with all of the latest videos I'm putting out. Can't wait to read your comments on this one, but I'm out for now. I've got a crispy rolled whale from the future war cult that I gotta go play around with. As always, I am TheBlackLink. You Guardians, stay frosty.